Oh, hi. I'm Melted, and today I'm going to show you how I completed my biggest challenge yet. This is Trampoline Extreme, a puzzle platformer where you jump on trampolines, as you may have guessed. And I'm trying to make the whole game in only 50 days. In the last video, I added a few new features, like moving trampolines, crates, treadmills, and more. But I want some more levels, so why not make 50?
You have 5 days, and you have to categorize each 10 levels into 5 different worlds. If you don't reach your deadline, I will find you.
This isn't looking great for me. Anyway, if I have to make 50 levels in 5 days, I'm gonna need to make one world per day. Today I think I'll make a forest. In the previous video I added mushrooms that you can jump on, so I'll just chuck them in and see what I can do from there. The first thing I did was find some ideas, so I messaged my Discord server and stole every idea I could find. Literally everybody wanted grappling hooks, but I've never seen those in the forest. Unless... To make vines that you can swing on, I made some leaves that connected to each other to kind of look like a vine. I later realized the vines aren't made of leaves, but whatever. Then something hit me, and this time it wasn't just the floor. In my first video in this series, I made an absolutely terrible ragdoll, but I learned a valuable lesson. Ragdolls are floppy. Similarly, vines are too. So it wouldn't be that crazy if I just turned the vine into a ragdoll. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, maybe some things can go wrong. Eventually I got it to work. It was just a little bit stretchy, but who cares, right? To fix the weird stretching issue, I used a little line that calculates the distance between two leaves, then draws itself between them. Then colored it green and it ended up looking like an actual vine. Now you can swing on vines and fling yourself across the screen. Next I took some time off, sat back to relax, and you know what monkeys love? Bananas, so why not add banana throwing monkeys? Firstly, I drew the most beautiful drawing I've ever done in my life, then animated his arm throwing something. I then made bananas that fling themselves around the edges of the screen. I took some code from Game Dev Box to make the bananas bounce off the sides of the screen. I then gave the monkeys the ability to throw them, and made the bananas deadly. No. Okay, the next step was to make some more animals and enemies, like the snake, which tries to bite you from out of the air, and the flower, which grows when you jump on it. After making these two, the forest was starting to get filled up with content, so I decided to spend some more time polishing and making the levels. I made 10 levels in total, each with their own unique mechanic, and to finish off I added a background. Why does that keep happening? Jeez, this is cold and super slippery. Well, I guess let's start by making some slippery ice that the player can slide on. You know how in the last video I made treadmills? Well, guess what happens when I turn them blue and icy looking? I know, my art skills are great. To be honest, the ice area didn't have that much content, but to make it more exciting, I added some snowballs that you had to escape, and a few puzzles as well, like this one where you roll a snowball into some cracked ice. I couldn't think of too much more to add for a while, but then I had a massive brainwave. What if there was a Yeti boss battle? This may have been my best and worst idea of the challenge. Anyway, I drew up a Yeti and animated him around. Then I added a boss health bar and cloned snowballs around the screen to make the boss battle actually difficult. I also made a camera shake which makes this battle intense. And with that done, I could move on to the next day. Cannon Canyon, the most dangerous world. For now. This area needed some cannons, so straight away I made a cool shooting animation, some cannonballs and a bit of code. Now we had an enemy, but that was too easy. So to make things absolutely painful for the player, I added little spikes that shoot out from rocks. I then played through the levels and realized something. There weren't enough cannons, so I added one more that shoots the player out in the direction it's facing. Now remember how I said the Yeti boss fight was the best and worst idea of this challenge? Well, here's why it's the worst. So if I made a boss fight for this world, and none of the other worlds have a boss fight, it would be really random. So to fix this issue, I need to make a boss battle for every world. But boss battles are not easy to make, but here we go anyway. I knew the boss for the cannon area had to be a bird, because, what kind of bird doesn't like cannons? Or canyons? Anyway, I drew up a big bird with a bomb-like head, then animated it so the fire moved at the top of his head. I then made bullets come from different directions of the screen, and an awesome ending to the battle. I was now 3 areas down, and starting to worry if I would actually be able to finish this challenge. Who knows what will happen if I don't? So I continued on to the next area. Where am I? Ha, you really thought I would? Lasers. This shouldn't be too hard, right? To start off, I made a laser. I know, crazy. I used a 2D light component and added a bloom post-processing effect to make them look like they were glowing. I then added a retractable laser which moves away when you press a button, as well as bouncy blue buttons and spinning lasers. All of this may seem pretty simple, but I was just preparing for the task ahead of me. The boss battle. Turns out this boss battle was really fun to make. I drew up Larry, then gave him a little bit of glow, and then I added his lasers flying around the screen. And now for the final area, the trampoline park. I could finally sit back and add simple stuff that I already had to make fun introductory levels to the game. But just as I was about to finish,
I see you've almost finished your challenge.
yeah, I was actually just about
I don't care. Beat me in a battle and I will accept defeat. Otherwise, I will make sure you never see the light of day again.
He was just joking, right? So then I went to play the game, and... Huh? And that's when I realized I had done it. I had made 50 levels in only 5 days. My hardest challenge yet. So what now? A lot. As I mentioned earlier, the entire challenge for this game was to make it in 50 days. I now had all the levels, but a lot of the core game mechanics haven't even been made, and I needed to work fast because I only had 14 days left. I quickly opened up Unity and began working on my arch nemesis, bug fixing. And man, was there a lot of bugs. I fixed the player teleporting into the sky, the bosses not letting you past, the player not moving, the trampolines not bouncing. I fixed everything I thought was working originally, and then it was time for menus. In an earlier video, I made the function that allowed for a scoring system in the game, but there was no way to know what score you had at the end, so now it was time to add that. I got some nice looking PNGs of stars, then animated them to pop up at the end of each level, and set the colours of the stars depending on how many you got. After that, I added a timer that shows, well, a timer. And then the settings menu. This was just pain. To begin, I made the menu with all the buttons it needed, and it was all fun and games, but then I realized something horrible. If you're unfamiliar with Unity, there's a thing called a scene. You can make multiple of them, and they store various game objects that you put in them. In my case, every scene had a separate level. Unfortunately for me, every level did not have the settings menu, and every button in the settings menu needed to be individually hooked up to the script that controlled it. And you know how I made 50 levels? You can probably guess what happened from there. Oh, and later that day I found out that I could have just set the canvas to not destroy on load, which would have allowed me not to have to set it up in every single level. But after hours of working on each individual button, I was ready to conquer my next issue: data saving. I had no prior experience of adding data saving methods to any game I've made before, so this was terribly daunting. And my friends were not happy that because they reloaded the page they had to play the game all over again. Yeah, sorry guys. Anyway, I found out that there was an already inbuilt system that Unity had kindly made for me, so I just hooked up some little variables and nothing worked. I spent about 5 hours straight on this horrible, disgusting, annoying, terrible piece of stupid code. And finally it worked. Oh, and by the way, at this point I was up to the last 5 days. I was freaking out. Time was running out. I needed to go even faster than before to reach the deadline. But luckily for me, there was not much left to do. You hear that? That is the sound of the greatest music ever made. I cannot thank my composer Ivan enough for the crazy amount of work that he did within the 50 days I gave him. He made 6 different soundtracks for the menu and all 5 worlds, as well as heaps of sound effects. Like a cannon. Or everything in this level. Go subscribe to Ivan now, or else. And with the music finished, I was up to my final challenge, publishing the game. I started by contacting two of my favourite game websites, Cool Math Games and Kongregate. I submitted the link for my game and all the details needed, carefully making sure I had done it right. I excitedly clicked the submit button and waited. And waited. And waited. I checked my email every day for something new, but nothing came. I'm not sure if they saw my game and didn't accept it, or just said nothing, or just never received my submission form. But after a while, I just decided that this was taking too long and I needed to publish this video. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave this video on a sad note. I literally made a full game with 50 unique levels in only 50 days. That's insane. I should be happy. I don't need my game on any special website. Anyone who wants to play it can always find it on itch.io if they want to. So yeah, that's how I made 50 levels in 5 days. I made an entire game in only 50 days. Please subscribe to support my channel and check out my other videos too. I'm working on a much bigger project at the moment with another video coming soon. Oh, actually, I have one last surprise. There aren't 10 ice levels, there's only 9. If you manage to 3-star every single level, you can play the final secret level. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.